Today, I woke up to some very disgusting and uncomfortable news about a profession that I deeply respect welding. Welding is a lovely profession, it's a trade that I admire, and I love the people that can actually do the profession because I find it to be incredibly difficult. And there is a woman, Amber Check. Amber Check was 20 years old. She's a welder in Minnesota. She's at her workstation. She was fatally struck down by her male coworker, 40 years old, David Bruce DeLong. Why did David strike her down fatally? Did she reject his advances? What happened? All that happened was that he found her annoying. He didn't like her. That's it. That's it. He walked over to her workstation and struck her in the skull with a sledgehammer. That's what happened. It's the entire situation. It is disgusting. That is the most disgusting thing I have ever read in all of my days. And I hate this. I deeply despise this. It is a violation of the most basic contract of civilization to me. Picture this, if you were for a moment. You put on your boots, you clock in. You believe on some fundamental level that the world has rules. You have no danger. That a workplace in a contained space, a pocket of order, it's work. There's HR manuals, safety protocols, OSHA even, maybe even that. There's this unspoken agreement that we are here to work, not to die. And this happens. For one young woman, the contract was torn up and burned by a man whose hatred was so mundane, so pedestrian. It didn't even have any root cause behind it. Was just boring anger. And the real bad thing about this is that it didn't happen in a dark alley or in her car or at her home. It happened at her workstation, amid the smell of coffee, the sound of welding and machinery. It means the monster wasn't in the shadows, he was at the next workstation. And everyone assumed the world was still sane. It's so agitating to me because we train women to be vigilant in parking garage. The real danger was standing by the time clock, and someone somewhere had probably already said, "He gives me a weird vibe," and was told she was being dramatic for it or hysterical. He planned it. He planned this entire thing. I want you to let that word curdle in your stomach. He planned it. Planned. This wasn't a flash of rage. It was a project. He woke up on days he saw her and thought, today is not the day I take her life. Till one day it was. And he stood beside her. He maybe passed her a tool. He heard her laugh, and all the while the calculus of murder was ticking behind his eyes. His justification was so... He just said, I didn't like her. That's it. This is the festering core of the sickness. His entitlement to not just dislike, but to annihilate what displeases him. I don't know if this is a societal issue. It seems as though it's more so a him issue, but this happens far too often. This is a long list of this happening. We don't teach people like this to sit with their own discomfort, so they learn to externalize it as violence. And now this very young 20-year-old, poor, very, very amazing welder of a woman paid the price. They are the price. You know, it really hurts my chest when I think about it. He used a sledgehammer. A sledgehammer. I'm not going to look away from the tool. A sledgehammer. This wasn't the clean gunshot or gun violence. No, this was a sledgehammer. That's an intimate, brutal physical labor applied to the destruction of a human being. A sledgehammer. In a place with safety signs about hard hats and steel-toe boots, they'll have a memo about proper lifting techniques in the breakdown. But no one stopped a man from walking in with a weapon and turned a colleague into a crime scene. I grasped that you may need a sledgehammer for welding, but that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's so nuts. I hate how the world is going to perform its grief too. Oh, it's going to be crazy. This will trend. There'll be thoughts and prayers, a digital funeral that lasts as long as a viral meme. We are just consumers of tragedy. We ingest the shock, we share the outrage, and then the algorithm refreshes and we move on to the next distraction. Amber's life was a universe. It was inside jokes with friends and favorite songs and a specific way the light hit her window in the morning. It was a future with a career, maybe a family, a life of her own design, all of it stolen. And we are asked to just move on, to let the horror be normalized, to not let it press on the conscious until it changes how we see everything. Her family, what do you say to them? Everything happens for a reason. There is no reason. There is only a hole in the universe where their daughter used to be. There is the sound of silence that should be filled with her voice. They will now live in a world where they see the warning signs everywhere, and every man who glares a little too long, and every coworker who seems a little too hostile, because they know now that the world is not safe. It's even less safe. Women instincts are not paranoia. They are the early warning systems for a civilization that is failing them. To me, this story is a tremor through every tradeswoman, every woman on a rig, on a site, in a shop. I want them to see this and know that they shouldn't have to fear. I want them to see this story, and I know what they see. They don't see a victim, they see a reflection. They are reminded that their competence is a threat, that their very presence in a male-dominated space is seen as a provocation. They have to be twice as good, twice as tough, and still navigate the minefield of fragile male egos that can, at any moment, detonate into this. Every woman who picks up a tool is building two things: her career and a fortress around herself. He didn't snap. People don't snap. They corrode. They fester. There were signs. Maybe it was a comment, a look, a pattern of resentment, a vibe that everyone, especially the other men, chose to ignore. We treat men's inner lives as a black box. He's quiet. He keeps to himself. We pathologize women's emotions. But we give men's volatility a free pass. A dignified silence until that silence is broken by the sound of a sledgehammer. And the burden is placed back on women. Well, be more aware of your surroundings. Trust your gut. As if the problem is their perception, not the reality of the threat. They are expected to navigate a world littered with landmines and then be gracious, pleasant, and productive. Have to show up to the same job on the same site with the same men and smile. And the system wrings its hands and holds a seminar. It is not root out the rot. It just waits for the next body to fall. Amber will become a story, a case study, a statistic. Her name will be used in arguments about workplace violence. They will sand down the edges of her humanity. They will forget the sound of her laugh. They will turn her into a symbol, and in doing so, they will commit a second violence. She was not a symbol, she was a person, and she was robbed. It is disgusting that we live in a world that is still figuring this out. We have been to the moon. We have the sum of human knowledge in our pockets. We have not solved the basic primal problem of revolting men who decide that their hatred is a license to kill. We have not built a society that protects its ambers. We have families burying their daughters because a workplace culture, a world, failed to see a man's bitterness as the weapon it was. Amber should be alive. She should be welding. She should be laughing. She should be planning her weekend. Instead, she is a warning. And if this story doesn't make you sick, if it doesn't make you angry, if you can hear this and then go back to scrolling, then we have learned nothing. And her death is just the first of many.
I'm your Nick and Night, be my Laurel, slow. Ooh, happy to try what you need. Your world, I love to live in it. Ooh, I love the ride when you're free.